I'll get us turn it on. Yeah, I forgot about your hearing. Yeah, sorry, Mark.
Where it's going.
Sorry, Paula. Could you turn the aircon off, please? Mark can't hear properly when it's on. It interferes with them. No, because then everybody.
Okay, we're live, everybody.
Thanks, Henry.
I'll turn the unit.
Sorry again, Mark.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the October meeting of
Good evening, Chairman.
Buckingham Town Council Planning Committee. First of all, apologies. Sorry, we have no public speaking. Apologies for absence, please.
Councillor Shaver and Councillor Farmer.
Thank you. Noted.
Yeah.
Declarations of interest. Before I read that out, first of all, I've been asked by the town clerk just to read out that we are in pre-election further, as you all know, which will impose limits on what town council can discuss, what we can't discuss, and what we can publicise. So, you know, it's nothing of a political nature during tonight's meeting. For the same reason, you probably aware, we've had to postpone the public consultation into our revised neighbourhood plan. That's now been moved to the end of November and December meetings with public and with potential developers. So, thanks very much. So, declarations of interest, received declarations of any personal or prejudicial interest under consideration on this agenda. Robin?
Usual one. I occasionally get to sit on an Buckinghamshire Council. We actually had a meeting.
Wow.
But I can't talk about it. But if you watch the webcast, you'll smile. Especially the.
Thank you, Robin. Anyone else? No? Thank you. In that case, may we agree the minutes of the previous planning committee held on the 18th of September?
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah. You all in agreement? Paula, thanks for getting yours out so quickly. Item 4, North Bucks Parishes Planning Consortium. Our representative on that is Councillor Anthony Ralph. Anthony, the floor is yours.
I've only just literally received the minutes and what have you, and I shall be sending them through to the office saying that they are available. And I'm hoping that we can perhaps have a slightly fuller conversation. There's nothing earth-shattering, but I'd like to go into them in a bit more detail than we really can tonight.
Thank you very much. Robin?
Just one question, because we're not going to go into any detail. Did the A4C1 development come up in that meeting?
Only in passing and sort of discussed.
Because they're out for consultation now. That hasn't been withdrawn. That consultation is still taking place.
Sure.
Even though the council, but could we, if there's anything additional on that, that'd be quite interesting to understand.
Sure.
I realise you've only just received it, Anthony. I apologise, but it is quite integral to many other things that we'll be looking at.
Robin, if I could just add to that, we have already been given notice of the next meeting, which is on Thursday, November the 7th, which will be held in the Buckingham area. That's the 421 corridor.
I thought that.
Sorry, Thursday the 9th.
I thought that. Just for you, Chairman, they usually have two meetings. One the day before with Buckinghamshire Council, and one the day after. I can't quite understand the logic behind that, but who am I to decide? So I saw that. They're going to pick the venue that you can hear, see, and get to.
Well, they have asked for people to suggest venues. I've suggested two to them, and they're going to contact the Deputy Town Clerk about availability.
Thank you, but I don't think the venue, it would be fair to say it worked particularly well for the meeting, and I felt observing the meeting that I didn't go out to the meeting. I felt members of the meeting were quite frustrated.
Anyone else? No, thank you. There is no action report tonight. This meeting was being held in tandem, you know, with interim that's been cancelled for that business. So we can go straight on to planning applications. All the additional information being provided by Catherine. Thanks for that, Catherine. We could move straight on then to number 1, which is Unit D at Chindwick Road, Industrial Estate. It's on Delphin Group. It's a 2-storey front extension proposed by applicant in Carlton Hennigan Building and Civil Engineering Limited to base Brickmaking Keynes. You'll have all seen Catherine's report. Anyone like to speak on this? Please, sorry.
I think we should welcome this addition, and you know, yeah, I'm really pleased to see that this company are doing well enough that they want to extend upwards. So I would welcome this.
It's providing more employment to the town.
Yep.
Just a couple of things that we noted from the documents. First of all, the parking space sizes haven't been identified, so we just need to ensure that they're going to meet minimum standards for Buckinghamshire Council. And the tracking diagram, which isn't actually on Catherine's notes, it shows trucks crossing the footpath and some of the disabled bays. I think we want to see that clarified. So, anyone else want to speak on that? In that case, I propose we have no objections, although we do add those riders. Is that agreed? Anthony, thank you. John?
I'm voting for it.
All right, all those in favour?
That's what we have to do. Okay.
That's the unanimous part from Robin. The second one is 29 Harris Way. Harris, sorry. Correct me on that before. Robin,
The mayor
you
of
told me the story about
the mayor of Buckingham.
Yeah. Just getting it out. Right, so this is off Mount Pleasant. Planning notice went up on the 22nd of September. There's been no neighbour comments about it. Anyone like to say anything on this?
No, fine.
In that case, I propose no objections. Seconded by Anthony. All those in favour? Again, everyone except Robin. Thank you. The third application has already been decided. It was reviewed on the 29th of September, and it's a revisit by 33 Willow Drive to put a drop curb in front of their property. It went to appeal, you recall, which was lost, and the applicant has come back again. It was refused before notice had been posted, and the reason for refusal was the absent information to demonstrate the exact location of the proposed drop curb. The ball is now back in his court if he wants to pursue it. Item 4 is 2043 Lime Avenue. This is a householder extension. Just catching up with this one. So yeah, it's from the southeast corner of Badges, just south of the Bletchley Road roundabout. It's a householder application for a single-storey road extension and a single-storey front extension to existing entrance and hall porch. Again, this was planning notice that put up on the 22nd of September. There have been no neighbour comments. The only comments I would make, it is a change to the street scene, but the garage was converted into a room sometime since 2009, but there was no planning permission for it. So the street scene has already obviously been changed. So there's nothing we can do about that. So is there anyone any comments, John?
Well, should we put a rider on and expect them to submit a retrospective planning application for that change of use?
Well, they don't need to, do they? After
Can they do that anyway? Does that have to apply?
I can't identify what date it happened. If it's more than 4 years, there's no point. If it's been in situ for 4 years and nobody's actually challenged it, you get the right to keep it.
Right.
It's sort of squatters' rights. I think as long as nobody said no.
yeah, the last evidence we have that the garage was still there is Google Street Scene 2009. That was the latest update on Google. Thank you. So in that case, I propose no objections. Seconded by Anthony. All those in favour? Thank you. Everyone except Robin. Right, we move on to 63 Western Avenue. Catherine tells me this is the first change of use of a garden cabin to a dog grooming salon. The property that the proposed shed is way down the bottom of their garden. There are long gardens here, and there's no neighbours close by. They've all got long gardens that back onto it. The only thing I raised this afternoon was there's nothing about supplying water or electricity to the premises. Carolyn,
That was the point I was going to make. I couldn't see how they were going to get dogs and water down to the bottom of the garden, because there didn't seem to be any access other than through the house.
Yeah, we have to take wet dogs through the house, or unless you drive them.
Must be
Try
dry.
them before you.
Yeah. But the side access, as you'll see from Catherine's notes, was filled in with a granny annex some years
Yes,
ago.
exactly. So I couldn't see that there was
Yeah, so
direct access to the cabin other than through the house.
she hasn't given us any information about how many customers she'd like to have, or
Right.
etc. etc. Lisa.
Thank you. A bit about electricity. I've got a little half cabin in my garden, and it's run off from my house. So that it is doable. Not sure about the water aspect, but
So electricity is easy, that's why.
yeah, it's the,
Plumbing is.
but as both were brought up, the electricity side has probably dealt with that the same way that I've done it, but water, yeah, I'm not sure. But you know, again, it's a business, new business.
Yeah.
So, you know, if she's able to create customers and keep afloat, congratulate her for doing it, or him for doing it.
Yes, because we did lose our dog parlour here, didn't we, from town? I haven't lost it, but it's moved out of town. And anyone have any comments?
I
Karen?
would add a rider to that. I totally agree. It's a welcome business. But the water problem is not just getting it there, it's the disposal of it. And it is going to be contaminated.
Right. In that case, what I was going to do anyway, I propose to have no objection to it, but with the rider that we would ask officers to check on how they're going to provide water and electricity and dispose of
Environmental health, maybe.
environmental health.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have no objection in principle.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Seconded by Anthony. All those in favour? Robin, thank you. Number 6, we're revisiting 12 Brackley Road. This is about the lawful existing use of land as a residential curtilage, together with construction of a landing deck to the edge of the riverbank. I will pass a photograph around, which is helpful. It's a number that's provided by the applicant. We had no problem with this before because we felt there'd been sufficient proof that it has been in use as a garden. We're talking about the garden rather than the actual landing stage. Because the landing stage had in effect been approved by the Environment Agency some years ago. But we felt, you know, that there was no reason to not to issue a certificate of lawful existing land use on this, but local planning authority felt otherwise. It's quite obvious from that picture, which is 2002, there has been a garden there for a long time. It's got picket fences and children's equipment in it.
Yeah.
At the end, Robin won't here see that. We're not talking about planning permission, we are talking about a certificate of lawfulness. Yeah.
What is it they actually want to do, Mark?
Well, what the certificate, like I guess it's what their title deeds, or if they want to sell it, you know,
Yeah.
just show that it has got.
Okay.
I propose we have no objection. Anthony?
Yeah.
All those in favour? That's everyone bar Robin, thank you. We move on to number 7, which is Orcott Hill Farm. We have been here before, but this again is the certificate of lawfulness for the existing use of an outbuilding of the Granny Annex. Catherine's put the planning history there, and these buildings have been used as residential buildings for some time, and the owners are just waiting. They just want a certificate to show that it is being used as residential. Anyone with comments on this, Carolyn?
I understood from the documents and things that actually it was given permission to be used solely as a granny annex rather than a commercial residential property to be sold. So I think as long as that exists and
But that's all they're asking for.
no objection.
Yeah, this is a certificate of lawfulness for the existing use of the outbuilding as a granny annex,
Yeah.
which is what they've been using it for some time.
Yeah, fine.
Anyone else? In that case, I propose no objections. Anthony seconded, and all those in favour? Thank you. Everyone by Robin. Okay. Right, we move on to number 8, which is 36 Chandos Road. This is an amended application, description and plans for conversion of a 4-bedroom house into 8 HMO self-contained units. It now becomes a 4-bedroom house with 7 IMO self-contained units with shared facilities. The description is not quite accurate because Catherine points out that one of those 7 units will not be self-contained. It will have to use it won't have an ensuite bathroom. They'll have to use one in the hallway. The owner also has the HMO at 39 Bernardine's Way. What's really interesting here, when we heard this on the 21st of September at our last meeting, let's get these bits together. Sorry. The planning notice hadn't been posted. The following day, 16 objections went up on the website, including the Buckingham Society. Thank you, Carolyn. So just looking here, they have made some changes following our comments, including keeping the chimneys in place. The garage is proposed to be converted into an office, but there's no application for that. As I mentioned, one of the units will not be self-contained. Carolyn, I think you'd like to lead on this.
Well, we still think that it's basically overdeveloped.
Yeah.
And the parking issue does not go away, in principle, and it is the wrong use for a house of this nature in the middle of Chandos Road. Overdevelopment.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and then you've got the refuse as well. You'll have a lot of bins.
There are many pointers to it, but essentially, yes, it all points to some overuse of a property in the middle of a residential area with some families with 3 bins rather than 8.
Yeah.
Most of the objectors are in Chandos Road. There are others in London Road and elsewhere, but interestingly, a lot of the objectors say they live in the Victorian houses opposite, which when those houses are built had no parking facilities, so they have nowhere to park except on Chandos Road in front of their houses. And that this would exacerbate that problem. Fran?
It's very, very close to Grenville School, which has got a huge amount of parking issues. Small children coming in and out. It's very unsuitable place for it.
So anyone else? Go, Lisa.
Yeah, and also we know that the secondary school, when the young people get into sixth form, they tend to bring their cars because they're only there for half a day or in the afternoon only, so they can't get on the school bus because it's like morning till after school finishing. So those that start driving then drive to school. So that we found that out a couple of years ago.
So that's still allowed. Sixth formers are allowed to bring their cars, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's still going.
Yep. So overdevelopment, as Karen said.
Yeah, Andy, do you want to raise something about the university or?
Well, yes, I had understood that the university have to have anybody who's claiming property will be used for student accommodation, they need to be on their list. And I'm not at all sure that this is on the university's list. And in passing, I would say, of course, this is very close to Sainsbury's as well. And it's not just traffic that's whipping in various different directions as it comes out and goes up and down Chandos Road. Also, the vision is very poor when there's so much parking that really the traffic really is a big issue. But it might be worth just commenting on the university's agreement or otherwise as to whether they got this on the list.
Catherine, is there anything you'd like to add on this?
No.
You said it all.
I can contact the accommodation officer and ask what process there is.
Well, my proposal then is to continue to oppose this application on all the grounds we've discussed, and most particularly the high number of objections, 16 including the Buckingham Society on this.
Sorry, school buses as well,
Yeah.
as cars.
We can add everything you're
School
talking about.
buses up and down there,
Yeah.
and it's a nightmare, as it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's parking both sides of the road and
Danger.
becomes single lane, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Anthony. All those in favour? Everyone by one. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 9, which is land at Osier Way. This will be slightly bigger. This is the erection of 121 dwellings along with landscaping, garages, roads and all ancillary works. Phase 1, following outline permission. There have been a number of comments made, documents posted on the planning board since we had Captain's report. Foremost of these is from Anglian Water. Thank you, dear planning team. Thank you for your consultation. Having reviewed the development, there's no connection to the Anglia Water sewers. Therefore, we have no comment to make.
I saw that.
Robin.
Just, the application's got outline planning, I don't feel like I'm credited myself any more than I have been. Being as I spoke at the meeting with your good self for this application. Yeah, I am somewhat complexed. And if you recall that we, through your good selves here, we questioned about the fact that there's no ability for the water company to apply for them to do anything. There's no ability for the development of the council to actually ask for it. You know, it's a public record. So I'm not sure where we go with this, apart from the fact I have written to the officer myself and asked her where we go with this, because I have been writing to them and it's on my list of non-replies at the moment. There are some pretty searching questions about this, and all I will say is, in addition, is Catherine will remind members that when we had the Laysill development constructed, they were halfway through building that estate and they still hadn't got a sewer and drainage system for that estate, and they were using tankers to and do you remember we had that huge flood during the period that flooded across the bypass? Fortunately, it wasn't the sewerage that flooded across the bypass, it was the bond of water which was held back. So I really think that this is what the council can do legally, I don't know. But the fact that I've seen that correspondence and I've written to them and haven't had a response, I think it's a big red flag, because if they start works on there, you know, and there could be properties in there with people without the ability to access water or whatever. So I think it's a big no-no. Also, you will be aware that it's something the council has been questioning for the best part of 10 years about the fact that the highway up there's failed, and hoping to get some resolution on that maybe in November. But if maybe in November, when they start development on that, either side of the road, there's 2 developments who've got permission. One is the industrial site and one is, as you were, both lawfully not development. That means if that it might be worth following up the 2 questions, one about the water and one about the highway, because if they do get consent to construct that, we're likely not to get that road fixed again for a long time, because clearly vehicles going into a development and the first access is not far from it, and the second access is for the later development is bang on it. So I do think there's some real concerns there, and seek advice from the planning officers where they stand with it, because surely they can't go on and determine any of the other things, which are the footway access, the fact that this part of the development is the bit which is closest adjacent to the tyre place and everywhere, isn't it, Mark? And it wraps around there, and if that comes on stream without any of this stuff going in, it raises more questions. We do need to get certainty that the children get out of that estate safely. And you will recall that in section 106 there was £800,000 put in for dual in the A421, and there was a contribution towards a crossing on the Dorker crossing for footpath and another crossing. I do think there's lots of questions of certainty around this, and sewerage and drainage being the first one. So, and of course, this application went through remarkably quickly, and was proposed and seconded and went to strategic development from Mark and I went through the meeting and did double act on it, didn't we? I did more the acting, he did more the double thing. Because I remain concerned about this period, and I have written to them. I haven't had any response on that, and I think this committee should take the clerk's advice on this and work with yourselves to come up with your own questions around it.
Thank you. Of course, the point is that Anglia Water, any water company, cannot refuse to take sewage from a development. But the point is that even though a subs plan for the estate is shown, there's nowhere showing where the sewage access or egress will be, and etc. etc. John,
Is there a subs plan? Because I can't see any balancing ponds on the plans. There are
balancing ponds
Oh,
and attenuation ponds, which I don't think are connected to anything.
well,
We can't tell.
I don't see any. That was one question, but the other question I got was thinking about water egress. And the fact is that what is currently farmland will be covered in concrete and timberland. The water's going to have to go somewhere. And where it's going to go probably end up is in the stream that runs through the middle of the new estate. That then, I'm looking at on the overall survey map, that then flows past the hotel, crosses over and near the railway, and then goes in the back of the school playing fields.
John, that's the one that is in all the papers, which is the sub scheme. And it also shows.
I'll bring the other thing in there.
I think
If it's there, fine.
I think you said also the stormwater goes into the ditch.
Yes, the ditch that runs along the edge of Osier Way by the hedge.
Yeah.
That's where.
And my concern would be about badgers, the edge of badgers getting flooded, because that's where the water's going to end up.
Yeah.
It's in that stream that goes under the London Road and ends up in the river.
Yes.
That's the stream that's going to get all the water, the runoff water, from this estate.
Yeah. Robin, you want to add something?
Thank you, John, for reminding me. I have asked those questions. Haven't had a response yet. You will be aware that in that big black flood we had, that Midway was one of the areas where the sewage and drainage was compromised. With the matter of fresh water getting into the drainage, it compromised, and those residents down there had the indignity of the sewage coming up, which is in the properties, and also the brook coming over because of the amount of water. When it gets to Badgers, it's fortunately a bit further away from the properties, but then it flows down alongside the cricket pitch, which and Bolton Road, which anyone who's been down the Bolton Road, there's an ongoing issue about getting that work done, because the drainage there clearly needs sorting. And I know Roger has been pushing continuously with the Highways Party to get that sorted. And also there's the cricket club ditch area, which takes some of that water, but that is further up. So I think one of the things which I'm not sure when it was last, the Bucks Drainage Board, it's one of their bits, I think. But even so, Buckingham indicated exactly where it's going to go and where the sewage is going to go. My real concern, as I've said to the officers, I don't think the sewer is at capacity if it's bursting out, and that sewage goes across there, and then I think it comes out back into highway at Bolton Road, and I think it might even end up in Bolton Park, and then connects with the sewage in Bolton Park, where you've got them raised areas in Bolton Park, then goes off down to Stone Trap Road. So we know the sewage is at capacity, so clearly somebody should do a report on whether there's enough capacity to take it, because it took, some years ago, they put a drain under the railway walk to take Emberton Way, and that came on that, I believe, didn't go down the town the other way. We need to probably ask Anglian Water whether they, about the capacity, because when you get from there, is there enough capacity to take it in the sewage works? Because the sewage works isn't something that we can ask for in development to, you can ask for more capacity, although they have the right to, I believe, in while you're doing conditions, to ask for a contribution to the capacity. But if we're not careful, we'll have particular area which will be affected most of the immediately. But they're the lowest sum area, you know, what those houses were built for workers from Roypac many years ago, apparently.
Thank you, Robin. If we could wind up because we.
No.
Right.
So I think it could, I propose we write to Anglian Water about capacity and.
That we have a letter with Anglian Water that hasn't been answered yet.
Okay, well, in which case I'm Martin to do something you already done, which I apologise.
And I very much sure we'll get the answer we had from the Bucks Planning, that, you know, there's no connection to Anglian Water Series, we have no comment to make.
Definitely, I'm not worried about it.
Until it happens, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Moving on from water for a moment, highways have raised a few objections about the application as well. They said that the traffic calming narrowing of the road is too narrow. It's down to 3.5, which is not wide enough to get a fire tender through. And so they want 3.7 metre wide narrowings. They've also reviewed planters that are going to be put along shared surfaces. It said, having reviewed these planters, we note the gap between these planters and the inside edge of the carriageway is approximately 2 metres. Parked vehicles could still block pedestrian access. The planters should therefore be positioned on the edge of the carriageway. My question to that is, if you want to park on the side of the road, how do you open your door with this planted? But that's highway comment on that. There is a comment from affordable housing, noting 121 affordable homes. They said they'd expect a minimum of 100 homes. They'd expect a minimum of 42 affordable homes. We say 43 because you have to round up. You can't have a house of 42.5. So we need that round up to 43. And then finally, there's a section 106 request for acute and community health provisions from Buckinghamshire Healthcare NHS Trust. The proposed development for 121 new dwellings will increase the LBL population by 303 people. In accordance with the Section 106 and CIL 10, the provision required to mitigate the impact will be £392,715. I've been on this council since 2013. It's the first time that I've had a health provision, Section 106 contribution.
Absolutely.
Carolyn.
I was going to say exactly that, but going back to sort of highways or access problems. The later phase seems to have a pedestrian access all the way straight across the bypass road, not very satisfactory. But phase 1, which they're starting with, doesn't even have any pedestrian access to our town centre paths, i.e. the railway walk, which would actually be quite easy to organise down through the Brideway and across. And there's no mention of pedestrian access or indeed cycle access from this particular phase, which as they're starting with seems a bit. I mean, I tried my best to look at this on a small screen, but as we understand it, there was no permitted access for pedestrians and cyclists.
Could we ask Catherine just to comment on that?
No, that is one of the problems that problems been looking into, the fact that the children are going to have to walk out without safe passage because they've got to go down Hosier Way to that roundabout.
It's not just children, mums with prams.
Yes.
And you know,
Mobility scooters.
anyone on a bicycle.
Yeah,
as we're trying to encourage it.
yeah.
That was one point. Can I just also
Yeah,
add
please.
that I think, having looked at their designs, 25% of what should be is fine, but some have been removed, which I think we will comment on in a letter. But it seems to me that the affordable housing, when we looked at the illustrations, are not tenure blind. And
Yeah.
That actually in my report that they are much plainer.
they are,
Yeah.
and they stand out. And also the line FF, which is housing on the edge facing the field to the south. That particular roof line must have more interest. We've been particularly struck by Lace Hill, when you come down from the Aylesbury Road, the view across the valley is just one plain line of roofs. And really would like to see punctuation in roofs when you've got looked over a view like that. And those houses are directly in the line across the valley. So they must have chimneys at least. And
Where are
they're-
we?
as far as I can see.
The design code has been
Well,
approved.
the design code has been
So
approved.
we can't change that now.
No, but we can, I mean, this is a detail
It
phase.
is, yes,
So yes, they could be different houses, they could arrange them differently,
exactly.
perhaps in groups.
Yeah.
And as for making up the Lember Lane into a feasible service, that's a good idea. Because it goes right from that end.
Yes, it
Yeah.
Something we could suggest. Karen, I can just answer your again, the affordable housing people said in the tenure mix of affordable housing, in accordance with H1A, the type, size, tenure and location of affordable housing will be agreed with the council, taking account of the council's most up-to-date evidence regarding local market conditions. The current evidence for VALP supports a tenure split of 80% affordable and 20% intermediate housing. Shared ownership is the preferred type of intermediate housing. So they haven't, according to this, they're still in discussion with the local planning authority.
Yes, I read all that. It was really just the sort of
Yeah.
insistence on making it tenure blind.
Okay. John,
Obviously, I like the hedgehog highways. I'm going to speak.
we all do.
And with no mention of the swift box, which they could be on this estate. And also, given that we want swifts and hedgehogs to play, do the children have anywhere to play in this new estate?
Yes. I'm not exactly impressed by it, but it is.
I mean, I can't see it. I'm looking at your summary, maybe I'm not the full.
Remember, these are amended plans, Councillor Hartley. We've already dealt with the other parts of this.
All right.
Yes, it's. You can see, find one that's better colored. These changes are mainly because they've had to redraw the roads so that the dustbin lorry can get round.
Okay, all right.
But yes, these are merely amended plans. You can see the general shape of it. Playground is there. And it's got a private drive along that, so it's not actually got traffic going along the side of it, and it's got woodland along that side.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And that one's a leak, the little ones. The phase 3, I think, has got the leak,
Yeah.
and there's another leak in the other side as well. This is all the area south of the belt of woodland that goes across at the moment. The woodland is not going to be touched. It might be a little managed, the dormice. But the swift boxes and things were all divided versus within, which hasn't been the amendment. So it doesn't actually apply to the road layout.
Okay.
I just scanned, read it, and I'm going to read it again. Health contribution. Though it's a contribution to health, it doesn't stay in it, which is the burdening question in the community contribution to health facility. It's going to purchase bed space in such and such and other places, so it isn't a direct accrued lift to the town. It's an accrued lift to the way that the ICB, Integrated Care Board, or it could be the BOP, are actually looking at the provision of healthcare. What I haven't got in there is the provision of like doctors' surgeries and stuff, which is something which I know you've all discussed. What I do know is we're looking at it, we're doing it today, but I do think it's worth noting that, and it might be worth asking the question of the officer why in their discussions, was it the IC Integrated Care Board or was
Yeah, that's it.
it was ICB, asked the ICB why they didn't include provision for doctor surgeries in that, because let's be no doubt that is a step forward, but if our developments in Buckingham aren't funding local need, and they were funding, those beds could be purchased, if I read it correctly, and Catherine will correct me soon if I'm wrong.
I haven't read it properly, so.
I did scan read it, but it looked like the money wasn't coming to Buckingham, it was going to buy facilities elsewhere within the hospital responsibility. So though our people will be using that, there was no direct link to the known problem in
If I
Buckingham.
could just clarify, Robin, the population increase will have a direct impact on acute and community health care in the following areas: cancer services, inpatient beds, diagnostics and therapy services.
I read it right then.
That's physio and
So
occupational.
that means that
Nothing for local
that could
GP.
go anyway. It doesn't say that the physio will go to Buckingham Hospital. It
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
say,
in
it
it.
doesn't say where it goes. So it will go into a pot of money, of which the NHS will
Eat it up.
will all get eaten up quite quickly, and it won't even scratch the service. But it is a contribution, so we should write back to the officers and thank them for what it is, but ask the particular question: where does it relate to local need?
Yeah.
Which is something that the town council's been chasing for longer than we can imagine.
2010.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to say, Councillor Stutchbury mentions physiotherapy and Buckingham Hospital. I believe that the physiotherapy service is not directly provided by the NHS at Buckingham Hospital. It's a contracted out service, so the money wouldn't be going there anyway. It would be going to the service provider.
There is a terminology which you need to learn that NHS use the term leasing over contributions. Not to deny, but I think sometimes in November maybe we can have a proper conversation around that. But I think you have to wait till November.
Thank you, Robin. So what I've outlined tonight is all the new documents. The one thing that does stand out still, we, Buckingham and Buckinghamshire itself have agreed there should be no shared street services. It's no longer a good thing, but we have a lot here on this estate. Obviously causes, we need to be up to adoption standard. That's the next thing. Catherine, I think you wanted to say something about this.
I was very much worried that things, because it's a phased application, we're going to get the same sort of thing as we got on Road 3, which retrofitted certain conditions under the travel plan, for example, so that things didn't get done for phases 1 and 2 because they knew that it was in phase 3 and they'd do it all then. And it worries me there are 4 phases of this. This could go well on into the 2030s and we could get no provision at all because they've got other phases kicking off. I mean, for one thing, we're not stopping at 303 new patients. That was just phase 1. It's going to be near 900 and something.
Robin?
I think the other thing you have to be aware of that it's quite clever to bring it in as it is, not the whole plan being agreed at once, which I think is quite dangerous for us. We did have if anyone goes back as long as when we had the Heartland, it came through in such small phases that it affected some of the contributions. We need clarity over the fact that these numbers which have been agreed in this phase against the totality of the total numbers, because that could affect the affordability.
That's all right, Robin. That's why you have an outline nowadays.
Yeah.
You do. That's why the section 106 is the outline.
Having been caught once,
Yes, before you get the detailed levels where you might actually want to change this section 106, then set in concrete an outline, but that takes the total number of houses and does the calculations.
But also,
on that.
lastly, there's always the district, one of the favourite tradition moves of developers is go to the district valuer. When they want to do anything with viability on anything, we have to be aware of that because it may be something that's used in later phases or not. So we have to be aware of it. We can do nothing about it, but it's a tool which is used. Caroline's probably remembered it being used in the past.
Thank you, Robin. Where we are tonight then, just to remind members, in July of this year, this committee looked forward to a practical, definitive and accurate design code for this large estate, responding to local styles, materials and layout. Once this is approved and phasing plan DIS, then we will expect new plans for phase 1 to be adapted accordingly. The new design code was submitted and approved on the same day by the local planning authority. So we have no say in it.
Revision B and revision D were about a month apart. So clearly revision C wasn't up to scratch. The officer remonstrated with the developers and said, would you kindly get your finger out and sort this out? And once they've got revision D, according to what the officer wanted, she could have accepted. I think that's probably because it was so quick, that number of revisions. I mean, Roger was very forthright in his response.
I mean, they have done a lot of what we asked. And I
Yeah,
think
no,
I mean, it is now a code. There are properly graded tables of things and a lot less of the arty-farty balloons and crayons. So
what we need to, I mean, I felt it was very disrespectful that the director of planning ignored our full. There was a 4-page objection we supplied, and he waved through the revision, even though it still didn't address all our complaints, all done on the same day. They were fun.
I mean, we are not party to compromise discussions now.
So
But I think we've got as best as we can get.
that's a done deal. But what we've got to decide tonight is, do we improve the phase 1 application in front of us, that erection of 121 dwellings along with landscaping, garages, roads, and all ancillary works.
These are just the amended plans.
Yeah.
Which are due to them having to change the roads so that people do not have to haul their bins 60 or 70 metres from their house to a bin collection point. There are now going to be roads that are big enough and got turning spaces and stuff so that the bin lorry can actually go past your house and you can put your bin out your front.
John.
I propose that we object, because I'll read our comments more. I think we put the riders on that Catherine has been mentioning, Anne's been talking about the song, and say on this basis we object and we see this in the future.
With all everything we've discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fran, you're next.
I think Lisa was before me.
Oh, Lisa.
Thank you.
No, fine.
Yeah, following on from what John was saying, really, you know, we've said about shared services and, you know, that we don't want to see things like that on new estates coming forward and been ignored. So I say object. So,
Would you like to second that?
yeah.
Thank you. So proposed by John, seconded by Lisa. Fran.
I was just going to ask a question. I've talked about the shared services. There are private driveways. Are these roadways?
These will be cul-de-sacs with the posh houses on and block pavement.
Right, okay, and so who's going to be looking after and maintaining those?
We're charging the residents for the benefit of them.
And is this something that we are in favour of?
No. But I banged our head on this brick wall several times.
Yeah. So is that something that we can comment on?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Karen.
I was just going to say, it does say roads and all ancillary works, which surely does include pedestrian and cycleways.
Robin, do you want to?
Just for information, I did in copious notes and I met the original outline planning people and did copious notes in the meeting. At no point were they keen to be involved with the town council, and no point were they keen to be involved in talking about anything about taking over areas of land. They seem to be bullying along with what they could do because the way the Section 106 agreement was and can be drafted. I think if we have another meeting after Perda, I think we need to discuss some issues around the way they're drafted, but we can't do it tonight because there is an ongoing unease, I believe, around that.
Robin, I've got to stop you now because we can't even mention that. So, thank you.
Well, it's in the public domain.
Yeah.
I've already said it.
I've been briefed by Steve on this. That, you know. Thank you.
It's a public record.
You try your best, Robbie.
It's a public record what I've said.
Try.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? John, your proposal, we object to this, but all the reasons we've discussed.
Yeah.
And seconded by Lisa, so we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Robin, you're voting on this one?
Yeah, I've said strategic development control.
So that's it. Unanimous, thank
Got
you.
no vote down.
Well,
Good. Robin, thank you for your input as well. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, well, even though I couldn't go as far as I wanted to. But one try comes best, doesn't it?
Anyway, number 10 is not in our parish, Maids Morton. It's land off Walnut Drive and Foskett Road. As Catherine pointed out, this is purely internal matters, so not only does it not affect us, it would be impolite if we had any say, but you're welcome to speak, Karen.
I just thought you might be interested to know that David Wilson Homes have appointed a intermediary to talk to parishioners, mainly Pat and a couple of others who've been involved with their highways and the access on Walnut Drive especially. And they seem very willing to talk to us and amend some of the more ridiculous suggestions that have been put forward. But I think they're hiding behind the council. They're sort of saying council highways are insisting on this. We'd be very happy to do away with a mini roundabout, for example. And they also say that the council are really determined to get the BNG, the Bionet Diversity gain, rather, the Bionet gain. That is their chief goal on this development. So this is feedback from the developers. Whether they are just sort of playing nice to talk to.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yes, exactly. I rather think it's probably a case of that. Anyway, they have made that effort.
Thank you very much.
Time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on since 2016.
I know, and they are
barely
aware
got
of
their nose in the
under the bridge. Exactly, they have now not appeared in the village at all, and they are aware of all the anger, let alone the protests that's going on. So I think they're generally trying to sort of see the village's point of view. But,
Maybe just done a new general manager, you don't know.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Karen. That ends the planning application. So three applications, all which have been circulated separately due to time constraint. One was the pollarding a maple at Stoneleigh House.
That's since been approved.
Yeah, that's been approved. The open space opposite St. 3 Bernardines Way, Ash Dieback is the main culprit there. And Neil Passmore, the county tree officer, he's had to act quickly on that. And the other one is Cooper's Walk, Ford Street. This is just purely work going on, ongoing management plan. I think you got approval from everyone to be buying now.
But everybody said that, you know, it's a management plan.
Yeah.
Fine with that.
So, anyone got any comments? No, thank you. Planning decisions, details of planning decisions. Most of them where we had no objections have been approved. There's just one where we have no objection, which was refused, and that's Arthur's Radio, 24 West Street. Partial change of use from hairdressing salon to a residential one bedroom flat. It was turned down because LPA used our own Buckingham neighbourhood plan against us. They said the proposal would not achieve a satisfactory level of amenity for future residents of the proposed flat, given the poor levels of outlook and lighting, resulting in substandard level of habitable accommodation. There is a proposed 2-metre fence, which we weren't aware of, I think, at the time that we looked at this. Which
They've
is
divided the courtyard in half, so with this huge fence is, it's a ground floor flat, so it's not got a lot of light to start with. Courtyard, but it's got even less now.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the reason that was refused, but they did quote the Buckingham neighbourhood plan policies quite heavily on that. So.
When it suits them.
When-
Exactly, Brown.
They have allowed it, I mean, the ones in St Albans Lane were seriously fuzzy.
Yeah.
You know, they really were, fitting the bedding was an achievement. But however,
Yeah.
let it go.
Anyone got any comments on those applications? No, thank you. So number 7,
Point of order, Chair, are we able to discuss this under further? Well, point 7, are we able to discuss this under further?
the consultation on the local plan.
Yeah.
I believe that Claire looked into it.
Yeah. Said it was okay.
It's their consultation rather than ours. We can comment on it for our normal business,
Yeah.
as long as it's diplomatic.
Okay.
We're rarely in this situation, but I am very unclear about what further rules are actually being applied. Yeah. So I would ask the officer to maybe ask the town clerk to explain these rules in a bit more detail, because I fail to understand how we can do 7, but we can't let them talk about something that is in the public domain. It makes no sense to me at all.
The consultation closes next week, so if we don't reply to it.
I know practically, I understand that,
Yeah.
Chair, absolutely. But I'm making the point, I'm registering an objection to how further it seems to be applied without any clarity that I have about what is and what is not allowed.
Yeah, if there's an urgency to act, then we can so act as part of our normal business, which would apply to someone else's consultation is.
So urgency is a factor.
Yeah, because there is a deadline which will for responses which will occur before the end of the election period.
Okay, all right.
So the government's not going to suspend a consultation because we've got a local by-election. That's the bottom line.
Okay, all right. So just make.
Thank you for raising it, though, John. It's a good point. Right, I actually agree. Tick it on to fill in the consultation, and it's all here. I don't know if anyone's got any comments they wish to add or change. I had to answer. Not understood some of the questions because some are not qualified to answer. There's a lot of technical questions which are way above me. The main thing is this consultation is looking at making local plans within a 30-month period. And I thought that was far too long. Things are changing so fast nowadays. It should be 24 months, not 30 months. And that was the basis of my replies on the consultation. Sure.
Yeah, I read through your replies. I'm happy with them. Only one comment I would make is that at one point you said I used the first person. I think it also said we.
Well, yes, I'm answering on behalf of the council. Because what we're really, if you all agree with this tonight, that will be the council's position.
Shouldn't the council answer so that we use the royal we, as it were, as opposed to like?
Steve?
It's a fair point. It probably would be good to just proofread it again, just to make sure it's clear.
Trying to drive all these into the.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, the point of Councillor Cole taking it away and doing it and bringing it back here, members to agree, is there's then a corporate we.
Yeah.
Rather than individual.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But as I've got to transcribe it, I can do that as I go.
Yeah, that's.
My name doesn't appear on it anywhere. So
Yeah.
thank you, Robin.
Well, firstly, I also have questions around all these things, but I don't think that's for tonight. I do think we need to have a discussion about how we're going to apply these things in the future, because I'm at a loss with some of it, to be honest, but that's a question around. But I do think, secondly, we should thank Mark for the time he put into it, and with the guidance of our finance officer, that we can actually do it. Then we can all go to the SAP together if we've found that we've acted inappropriately, and I would just still, I think it's interesting that we act in a similar way, and I'm not seeing anything similar elsewhere. So I do think that's a question that we need to discuss elsewhere, I think, after this election, because I do think that some of the restrictions on us, and I do share.
Well, that's nothing to do with this meeting, Robert.
No, I know that, but John raised the point. I'm responding to John's point, and I think that's perfectly respectful.
This is a planning committee, and we're just trying to get through the agenda.
So in which case I propose that we agree.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, second
No,
that.
second, Lisa, thank you very much. So all those in favour that we for this? That is unanimous.
Thanks
you very
again,
much.
Mark, for doing
Thank
that.
you, Mark.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think John will agree with me, these are not easy. John mentioned that Martin had to go at a previous one. I spent
Yes, actually, it's worth.
I spent 6 hours on this.
Yeah.
I read 144 pages of documents. And,
It's ridiculous.
thank you. Chairman's items for information, only to say that the appeal inquiry into Morton Road 3 starts next Tuesday. We did ask the town clerk whether the appeal would still go ahead despite purdah, and there would be public members present, some interested parties who might want to make a political point. She said no, that she did check, but that was approved by the inspector's office. So my only item for information is I was due to go there. I was supposed to go on holiday in Scotland this week. It got postponed because of storm damage, not this weekend, but 2 weeks ago, when Storm Agnes brought down a lot of trees. Our lodge in Scotland still has no power. Scottish Power apparently going to be in this week, and hopefully on Saturday we'll be heading to Scotland for holiday. So our first this year. So.
Nice.
And accordingly, Anthony very kindly has agreed to take over for a couple of days. Catherine and Steve are both going to be attending as well. And it's been fixed at the inspector's office, isn't it? But you'll be speaking as whoever's there. I will be back in time for the Monday the following week. It's a 6-day appeal. That can attend all the Thank you.
Is it going to be online, or is it?
No,
personally?
not publicly. Normally it'll be available afterwards.
No. So thank you to Anthony,
Yeah.
Catherine and Steve for stepping in. Anthony.
I wonder if I could crave your indulgence, I think is the technical term. At the moment when Councillor Stutchby asked the question earlier on the MBPPC, I didn't have at my fingertips an answer. Through the wonders of modern science, I now have that section, and if I can say about 3 sentences, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, is everyone agree with you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, these are the bullet points. It was noted that W.S. Atkins are carrying out a study of the 421 within Buckinghamshire. But the fact the study only involved Buckinghamshire, not the neighbouring counties of Oxfordshire and Northamptonshire, through which the A421 runs, was brought up. So it's a bit partial. Whilst the meeting itself was thought disappointing, it was felt the main speaker from Buckinghamshire Council Transport Strategy Team was a useful contact, and several of the members of the MBPC have made contact. MBPC members had several issues about capacity, and you can understand that, of the A421 in their areas, and don't feel they're being addressed properly. Several recent planning proposals that include the A421 have received negative highways reports from Buckinghamshire Council officers, which of course is a positive point. That really was what was put into the minutes. So thank you
very much
Chair.
for that. Excellent. Fine, I have another motion. Date of next meeting is.
Sorry, can I?
Sorry.
Point of order that Councillor O'Donoghue's, not Councillor Hetherington's name is still on the paperwork. So she's resigned from the council.
It's fine, it's just at the end.
All right, at the end. Okay.
We'll cancel the by-election then.
So Whitman.
So that will obviously be corrected in the minutes. So thank you very much. Nothing else then. Date of next meeting, Monday, 6th of November 2023. Thank you all for your